It's Christmas Day. Merry Christmas, everyone, and welcome to the show. I am Nifemi Oguntoye. Christmas is our favorite time of the year, and we'll be sharing all of the memories in a short while on this program. Well, they say this particular Christmas is a very unusual one, a unique one for that matter, because the celebration is expected to be low-key, given news of a second wave in Nigeria. We had Mr. President's speech on Christmas Day. We'll be looking at all of the details and the focus of the #1 man in Nigeria at this time, especially as he urged Christians to pray for unity as well as security. We'll also be touching on what seemed to be a very challenging time for many Nigerians, especially in Lagos. People who do not have access to the automated teller machines, and then the controversies about agent banks and what they have to do with the failing financial system during this period. One would have thought that banks would anticipate the traffic and the volume of transaction that comes with such a season like this and not leave their customers stranded. And that's the news that we are hearing from many quarters. We're expected to be joined by a financial analyst to help us break all of this down. But let's begin with some of the stories that made headline on Christmas Day. The Punch is here with me and talking about COVID-19 warnings dominating President Buhari and governor's Christmas messages. Staying alive should be your watchword, President counsels, and the second phase deadlier. Avoid crowded places, governor advises Nigerians, and UK's deadlier coronavirus strain not in Nigeria. That's according to the NCDC. Has been identified in the country, and that's coming in from the Africa Center for Disease Control. We'll be telling you more about that in a short while. But President Muhammadu Buhari yesterday urged Nigerians to trust his administration in its efforts to restore peace, security, and prosperity across the country. He's also saying that Nigeria requires the Christmas values of joy, peace, hope, love, goodwill, and imminent salvation to stem the rising insecurity, the economic recession, and the COVID-19 pandemic. Let's see all the stories that made the front page on the Punch this Christmas Day. Federal government opens special registers for UK, South African passengers, threatens sanctions. We talked about new strain identified in the UK, and health officials are even saying that the new variant in South Africa happens to spread more quickly, and they are saying is deadlier. So we've seen close to 40 countries restricting movement in and out of the United Kingdom. The UK is also shortening its border to people coming in from South Africa. We hear that everyone who came in a fortnight ago will now have to isolate themselves from the rest of the UK. And Nigeria is also taking some steps. I believe that some papers featured what government is doing and all of the restrictions that are taking place. Well, I spoke with an economic analyst in previously on the show, and he's of the opinion that it might not be very easy for Nigeria to shut down its airspace, given the economic importance of these countries to its own economy. But we also need to see a more strict regulation that will ensure that we do not open too much, especially given the new strains that are now being reported. I was still on the front page of the Punch this morning. Our kidnappers said they received 30 million naira part payments. That's coming from Kankara schoolboys. And, you know, the interesting thing about the release of these boys is the big question of how the government pull this through. We've had preceding experience with Chibok and other abductions, and we know how long it took to have this negotiation done. But then what we see here is an almost immediate release of the Kankara boys, and we're hearing some are reporting 344 million. That would be $1 million each for the boys. But the presidency is saying that he has absolutely no idea about that. Federal government picks NGO to monitor $311 million Abacha loot spending. That's on page 18 of the Punch newspaper. Let's see the Nigerian Tribune very quickly. Another COVID-19 variant found in Nigeria. That's according to Africa Center for Disease Control. You find that on page 2 and page 49 of the Nigerian Tribune. Well, interesting thing about this new variant, according to medics, is the fact that it may not be more infectious. That's according to experts. And we are told that travelers into Nigeria is perhaps the biggest contributing factor to the increase in cases. The federal government has now rolled out new measures for UK, South Africa passengers, and we are really hoping that that will be enough to contain importing this virus, given the spike in figures, over 1,000 new cases reported yesterday by the Nigeria Center for Disease Control. The Guardian is next. If we have that, Nigerians celebrate unusual Christmas. Remember our previous report about Christmas lights on the island, how things have changed, especially from last year to this year. Well, some would say, why brighten up the public spaces if you're asking people to stay back at home? And that might explain precisely what is happening across Lagos and indeed across Nigeria. On this day this morning, okay, we have the Nation newspaper, COVID-19 new variant in Nigeria, not UK type, and that might be some relieving news. ACD and CDC allay fears, positive cases up by 100% in 7 days, and new rules for UK, South Africa travelers. EU, United Kingdom agreed deal on Brexit trade. Still on the front page of the Nation, we need more time to end insurgency. That's coming from President Muhammadu Buhari. All right, let's talk more about Christmas. It's Christmas Day, and we'd love to know how you're enjoying your holiday. Let's take this report from Sarah Ayeku, talking about what the pulse of the people are like on Christmas Day. Very unusual one in 2020. And we'll be back with more. Stay with us.
For years, festive decorations have always adorned major streets across Lagos. But this year is a bit different. It's few days to Christmas, and we're yet to see Christmas lights lighting up the streets of Lagos. For 14 years, the Ajose Adeogun roundabout in Victoria Island had been a spectacle for tourists and residents of Lagos, a sight to behold at the end of every year. But it seems Santa and elves are a bit late this year. There are no lights, no sleighs, adorning the length and breadth of the streets. Perhaps a reflection of a city reeling from the effects of a 5-week lockdown and laws incurred after the EndSARS protest. Just a handful of corporate organizations and government agencies keeping the lights on in parts of Falomo and Marina area of Lagos. So where are the lights and colorful decorations? The lights are still hanging in stores waiting for buyers. With Nigeria experiencing a second wave of coronavirus amid fears of an impending lockdown, most Christmas markets in parts of Lagos are experiencing a drought due to cancellation of end-of-year parties and the COVID-19 pandemic.
This year the sales is too bad, but last month the market is speaking, people are buying. But immediately they announced that there's COVID, there's no school party, the sales just drop like that and no more sales again.
Mrs. Adewale has been trading Christmas decorations and accessories for about 10 years. Even with a daughter's help, sales are minimal.
I think everything is just dull this year because e-commerce is not like as we know before. It's usually like very busy, but now everybody is just indoors. They don't want to come to market, or they are complaining that the price is too high for them as at the last year's price. Last year, I think the minimum we could make in a day, let's just say 100K. But this year now, 50. So I think the difference is too far from each other.
The story is the same for other traders on the Lagos Island.
COVID party. By this time, it will be 100 or 200. By this time, it will be 200. Benny, this thing buy me take 30,000.
Everybody is indoor, but now that they say we should go out, everybody wants to celebrate. Even if you don't have money, you just have to give thanks to the Lord. Everybody wants to celebrate.
Traders in the markets are still expecting last-minute shoppers. They say Christmas can still be enjoyed with family and friends, even though the government has cancelled large-scale public celebrations and fun fairs.
20,000 naira. This is 7,000. This one is 5,000. This is 10K. This one is 25,000. And for this 10K, this one is 22,000. It goes for 22,000.
For a lot of persons in Lagos, this year's Christmas might not be as colorful as the tradition presents. Everyone is hoping to end the year on a high note. Sarah Ayeku, TVC News, Lagos.
Once again, congratulations, you made it to Christmas. So don't bother if the city isn't so lit. We can light up our hearts and do the needful as we count down to the end of the year and prepare for a brand new one. So there's a lot of talks about the financial institution, the fact that people cannot access their monies, they cannot make transfers, there are no cash in the ATM, and the list is endless. I did a transaction yesterday. I was debited. The guy didn't get the money, but thankfully my bank restored the money in a matter of hours. But quite a number of other people aren't that lucky. We're also told that the Central Bank of Nigeria has now promised to investigate the scarcity of funds witnessed by customers in most ATMs in Lagos. I'm joined by a stockbroker and financial analyst to help us better understand this development, Mukhtar Mohammed. Merry Christmas to you.
Merry Christmas, differently.
And I wish that I'm as lucky as you are to be able to do a bariga on a Christmas day.
It's a Christmas day. I'm always on time, so it's Christmas day.
Really, really beautiful. So there are a lot of talks about the fact that this Christmas is unusual. It's not like all others. But I'm not sure that's the same story with you, because you look so gay and all of that.
Well, I think I said it in one of the programs that this Christmas, people just thanking God for life, that you are alive already. You're able to see this Christmas with all we've gone through.
Absolutely.
Through the year. I think that's exactly what's happening on this Christmas. Nobody seems to be looking about the good rice that you eat and everything. You just saw it from your documentary. I think we're just happy to be alive. We're just happy to be, we have a countries, some families, their loved one went at the beginning of this year. So it's just like I said, unusual Christmas, but a Christmas that is full with a lot of anticipation, a lot of hope for 2021, that 2021 will be better than 2020.
Yeah.
And hopefully that should be the case. But
absolutely,
we thank God for life.
The good thing is with the COVID-19 restriction, nobody can tell if you don't have money for Christmas. Just stay back at home. I have a 4-day-old daughter, so my colleagues have been asking, when is the christening ceremony? I said it's going to be a virtual event.
Definitely.
Cook the rice in your house, get a cup of wine, and then let's join ourselves.
Yes, just like me, my friends were calling me that, oh, normally on the 1st of January is my birthday, so everybody intend to just come to my place. No, this year is going to be virtual. So he just called me virtually. So.
And then, thank God for government regulations, and then we can decide to eat whatever we like within the four walls of our house. But let's talk about this huge challenge with the banking system. Sometimes you wonder if there is enough leadership and enough thinking into our processes. Prior to this time, it was given a 2-week deadline for national identification number. And then you're wondering what you could not do in 6 years. How do you expect to make it happen in 2 weeks? I expect that banks should know that the volume will be higher during Christmas. Is it a function of a system failure, or some people are just cashing in on the situation? I
think it's two. Both. System failure. One, in the side of the regulators, like I said, every bank is in business to make money. So when they see an advantage to take advantage of it, they will take advantage of it. I think it's a regulatory problem. The regulators were not up to their game. For me, that is a slap on our face already. Then secondly, again, system. When you're about to take advantage of the system, you see that happening with the money agents, and like one of you was telling us before we started, and charging them higher than the speculated rate that they're supposed to receive. All this has to do with systematic failure in the side of the regulators. Also, it's still all boiled down to the regulators. Because the banks don't keep money, the banks get money from the regulators, which is CBN. CBN is trying to investigate. In Nigeria, we investigate virtually everything. So what are you investigating? How much fund did you give to the bank? It depends so much that most people should be doing electronic transaction. Like you said, a lot of people do electronic transaction and it didn't go through. Some banks' app yesterday just went dead. They couldn't be restored until towards in the evening. And this is a very critical period for everybody. You have the COVID-19 pandemic that's all about, and it's individuals that are now giving palliatives to family members because some of them don't have job again. So individuals are trying to make the Christmas a little bit better for them. And here we are, the financial institutions themselves, we're frustrating people. I think it's one of those things that you are not proud to be in Nigeria. You are not proud to belong to the financial sector because we've known them to be up and up to the game. But in this particular Christmas, I don't know what happened. Excuse me. I don't know what happened. The ATM platforms were they were filled with a lot of people. They could not dispense money. There was no social distancing. A lot of that was let out by the banks. But I personally think the regulators are the problem.
So there's a quote here from the CBN, from a CBN director. It's highly preposterous for anyone to say the CBN connived with banks to deprive people of their money this season. The primary purpose for which ATMs were introduced is to ease the sufferings of Nigerians and to make banking easier and convenient. I assured the public the CBN will investigate the matter. So when things like this happen, people make up stories, you know, to fit an explanation into whatever it is. But this is not just a challenge for December 2020. It has always been a challenge during this period. You drive through the banks and then the crowd is so much. Are there more advanced systems that can accommodate volumes of transactions? You know, you talked about apps crashing. It's a big blow to the cashless policy that we're trying to encourage. I
think the best we can do, that's what we've done. I think it's left for them to increase their bandwidth to make sure they'll be able to carry, especially in periods like this. You can expect to continue to do business. This is like a peak period. So they should be increasing a lot of things. Like we're saying, even in terms of transactions, when you get to the peak period, maybe ATM transaction, they say the maximum is supposed to be about 120,000 to 200,000. Period like this, you can decide to make it 300,000 to reduce the number of people that will come to the bank. You know. And especially in the time that we are with the pandemic, we try to reduce contact between people. Right. And so I think, for me, the banks were caught unaware. Maybe they thought it's business as usual. We've had things like this whereby 23rd, 24th, even 25th, sometimes even a day to the new year, they are not, customers are not able to get their funds. And it can be very frustrating. And sometimes they do a transaction and the transaction is hanging. You were lucky that they had to reverse. Some people will have to wait till when the bank resumes to go there and fill form, and they are telling them how much did you withdraw, where did you withdraw it.
And the most annoying thing is they take your money, you go there, and then they tell you you can't get it back after 7 working days.
And CBN came out with a policies that said, if you have a genuine complaint, what the bank should do, they should reverse immediately and then look into the complaint within 24 to 48 hours. You're supposed to have a reverser. But that's why I say the regulators are not up to their game. And even the customers also, the CBN has a portal where you can report the bank in case your money is not being transferred. You just go to the CBN website and you report those cases. So what we're saying here is the customers also are not doing what they're doing. The banks are not doing what they're supposed to do. So when you go to a bank, you're telling you that they held your money. It's going to take them 14 working days to get your money across to you. They will ask you a series of questions. And they have all these things in their system. They could see it.
That's right.
So unfortunately, I think the regulators, I still think the regulators are not doing their supervision very well, especially when it comes to the electronic transaction, card transaction, POS machines, ATM machines. They have even become an avenue for fraud because the regulators are not up to their game. There should be, look, when you go to developed nation, once you make a complaint that X amount of money was not remitted to you, they pay you immediately, and then they begin to investigate. Those are systems.
So we've had lots of complaints. We've read quite a number of them on the papers that the ATMs were not dispensing cash and the apps were not working because of network issues, some technical faults. Or we've even heard that there were some that were looted or vandalized during the NSAS protests. But let's talk about agent banks for a minute. I can't tell whether they're a blessing in disguise at times like this. I suppose the whole idea is to make banking easier and bring it to the people who still cannot afford the cashless devices and all of that. But the perception right now is that they are operating in collusion with the bank. If you cannot access your money through the ATM and you cannot make seamless transfers, then you don't have a choice than to patronize them. But you have to pay you know, for services that usually you would not pay for?
Normally, there's a particular amount you pay, maybe 200 naira to depending on the amount. But what we were hearing that yesterday, they make it depending on the amount, you have to pay like almost 300 naira per transactions, and I think that was very, very bad. And it still boiled down to regulators.
That's right.
It still boiled down to them, because if for the bank, because of the regulators framework, because of the way they operate, you cannot do that. You remember that for your 10,000, if you transfer below 10,000 naira, you will not be charged the normal transaction charge. All this were policy that was brought in by CBN. But to the money agent, the CBN are not the one monitoring the money agents. The money agent definitely belongs to the bank. Right. So that is why you see people will feel that there is a collision between the money agent and the bank, because it's the bank that have control over the money agents. So if you're a money agent, there's a particular amount you are supposed to be able to do transaction in a month or in a day. So it's not like limitless. So the banks, for me, when it comes to the money agent, then the banks are at fault. Maybe they don't have trigger regulators. They are running that business as usual. And in financial transaction, in financial inclusion, you need to bring banking to the people, and you need to make it cheaper and accessible. So if this money agent now take advantage, and you won't blame them, they are also in business like the bank. They are taking advantage of the situation. People could not go to the ATM. If I can get to the ATM and withdraw my money, why should I go to a money agent? The problem is that people were not able to use the ATM yesterday, especially the middle class, especially the downtrodden, that were able to, oh, I just need this 1,000 naira, I just need this 2,000 naira, and you're going to withdraw 2,000 naira, you want 2,000 naira, and they are charging you 300 naira for a transaction to just get 1,000 naira or 2,000 naira. I mean,
you know, it's the norm in this part of the world. Everyone takes advantage of festive seasons. You want to buy something, and then you just notice that the prices, you know,
it happens everywhere. But when it comes to finance, there is a standard. Okay. It happens everywhere. It's brought down to demands and supply. It brought down to demands and supply. At that time, a lot of people are demanding, then you have supply that are less. So
the economic thing to do is to increase the price. Let's take a break and return. We're going to take your phone calls and identify what the challenge is with you where you are in the course of this festive period. Stay with us. Don't go away.
Whether you like it or not, the dries and dust is coming. And this time, it might not give up that easily. But do the people have the power to shake it off?
Well, of course they do, and you do too. Kick dry skin to the curb and get smooth, intensely nourished skin with Nivea's deep moisture lotions and lip balm.
Give your skin the love it deserves and kick dry skin to the curb. Get a free Nivea roll-on with purchase of select Nivea body lotion.
At TVC News, wherever the big news story is happening, we're geared up to break it. TVC News, first with breaking news.
Thanks for staying with us. We're looking at the financial challenges faced by Nigerians, especially here in Lagos during Christmas. Thank you for staying the course of the show.
Thank you.
On the show, rather. So we're looking at a situation where government is encouraging a cashless, means of transaction, which is great. I mean, you can just swipe your card and then, but a situation where you need to do certain things and then the system and the structure make it practically impossible for that to happen. I mean, you just imagine someone who has a few thousand in their account to spend for Christmas and then wants to pay at the POS point and then it gets debited, but the other person, they don't get the money. And such individual is stranded. Let's talk about why that is still a challenge in 2020.
I think, I don't know why that is still a challenge. It boils down to infrastructure. The banks have to improve upon their infrastructures. And that is why sometimes the bank will tell you that, look, some of these policy from the CBN mandating us to collect a particular amount does not help us to build the infrastructure. And they tell you that the amount you pay to them is sometimes not even enough for them to service their ATM or electronic platform. They spend so much time to service it. And I think that's what they will basically tell you. But I think it's boiled down to lack of infrastructure. It's boiled down to lack of capacity on the part of the banks to want to develop a robust platform whereby we know, because it's like you are using Microsoft 2000 in 2020. So you have those challenges. And I think because of the type of infrastructure and the cost of those infrastructure, not all banks are ready to begin to do that now, for now. And again, sometimes you won't even blame them again. When you have to do that, you have to, this particular amount you have to pay, you have to charge me a particular amount, you're looking at the years and time. So that could be the challenge. And then couple of bears, maybe some of them were thinking of improving the electronic platform at the beginning of the year, and the pandemic came in, there was no banking activities, fund was low. So it could be, that could also be a challenge.
Are there lay-down procedures that customers can take advantage of if they feel cheated by their bank?
Definitely, definitely. I just said, you need to tell them, the CBN have a portal where you can report the banks, and the banks are fine. Remember, the CBN even came that any bank that does the transaction, you will not withdrawn within a particular time. Those banks will be fine. Even if people are complaining that why do you find the bank and you CBN collect the money? We, the customers, should be the one to collect the money. Maybe that will get them serious. So for me, I think we should, once you don't allow the bank to get away with what they want to do, the consumer protection agency is there. Unfortunately, those also are not doing their work. Also, they are part of people that are supposed to protect the consumers. The customers, they are not. Because also they are supposed to look at what these banks are doing, especially in times like this. So it's boiled down to you as a customer knowing your right, because it has been proven, CBN have said that if you do any transaction, you are not paid that money, and the ATM happened to take that money, you didn't get the money, you didn't disperse cash, and you are debited, within 48 hours, that's what they say, you are supposed to be refunded that money. So if it doesn't happen within that 48 hours, the banks are supposed to be fined if you report them. So that is a clear-cut policy from the CBN as regards non-dispensal of money, especially when you are debited.
So I hope that these policies are also well implemented. I recall I had made a complaint to a bank over a fraudulent transaction, copied, one of the popular CBN emails, but I didn't get any reply.
That is shocking, because I have had issues like that of a transaction, a fraudulent transaction that happened outside the shore of this country on my own account. Within, I think within 14 working days, that was resolved, and the money was returned to me. I didn't have to report to CBN though, but I made them to understand that if I don't get my money, because I know I'm here, you have all the security apparatus, because when somebody is using your ATM, there's a camera. Once I'm not the one, and once I have not have any infringement as giving my PIN number to any person, and I have my card at that particular time, that's right, then I don't need to be held. But sometimes why the bank will tell you to wait a little, they want to do a little investigation to see whether the fault was from your own part. Because sometimes when people give people their ATM to go and do a transaction, and those people keep their PIN number, and at the end of the day, they go to withdraw those money. Sometimes people phones are stolen, and they didn't report, and so they can use your SIM card also to use the normal hashtag, and with that, the one-off PIN will come back to that phone, and they will be able to do the transaction. So those are things that the bank or the CBN doesn't have control. You have to do that yourself. But once it is proven that that money was debited or a fraudulent activities happen in your account without you knowing, it's on the part of the bank to pay you back that money, because every money that is in the bank is insured. So the insurance bear the cost, and so the bank has to pay you.
Mazi Okorafor is calling from Arochukwu. Merry Christmas, Mazi.
Good morning, Mr. Nifemi. Merry Christmas to you and to your family and to the people in TV here. Good morning, Mr. Mota. Happy Christmas to you and to your family, too.
Thank you, Mazi.
Yeah, I want to find out, Mr. Mota, you see, 4 days ago, I gave one person, please help me go to this POS and pay the so money to so person. After paying, they gave me a slip. He brought back the slip. Up to that, okay. He said, to me, I have not seen an alert on that month. The next day, I gave him the slip to go back to that place. He said, you might have gotten the slip that the money has entered. And for me to walk to the bank now, because of this crowded environment, I've not gotten time to go. So I don't know, because I was expecting maybe there is a number they will write. When you call some of these numbers, it's not going. The number which rather a number is job. You can't be hearing different languages on it. So I don't know what to do. Because I'm suggesting that the central bank, they are not monitoring all these banking industries. Because in the situation like this, there's supposed to be a number that when you call, somebody will give you an immediate answer. But even some people will go and put their money with, just go to collect money with ATM. The ATM will log in there. When you go back now, they'll be hearing stories. I don't know, because the CBN, I've seen people that are in the financial institution, let the CBN give Nigerians a direct number that is CBN in each state. If you have any transaction with any bank, you call that number to the CBN, at least they cannot talk to the bank. Because rushing to the bank, sometimes you come and they say your signature is irregular. The same signature you have been using for years, they will come and say it's irregular once again. It's a very big problem in Nigeria that's making people very, very uncomfortable. And are you going to put your money in the house for the kidnappers or for these hoodlums? That is the issue. Because the transaction is getting out of them. And you see now, bank, they will give you double alert. First alert will come. Before you talk to another alert will come. So I don't want to mention the bank. It's every, for the past 4 years, what do we do under this situation? Merry Christmas to all of you. You people look smart and look sweet this morning. At least I think Christmas is smelling in that place. Good morning.
Thank you, Maz.
Thank you, Maz, for your contribution. Do you want to react to that very much?
Yes, I think sometimes we make, I think sometimes the other thing we need to do is when you do a transaction, sometimes the alert doesn't come. That's another thing. You try, sometimes people you send them and say, oh, I'm waiting for alert. Meanwhile, the money is there because the alert has to do with system. Sometimes you send text messages, it didn't even go. Right. So sometimes you just need to look at your balance to be sure that that money has left your account. And then, I mean, it could happen like that. But on another note, if it doesn't happen, maybe you do a transaction, you are not able to go through. I think you need to call their call center sometime. And some of these banks, all of them have call centers. And though sometimes some of the call center can delay you a little, but it's your money. And that's why I say the consumer protection. Ordinarily in a civilized society, every call I make to my customer service is supposed to be free. Because they are rendering service. I'm trying to make a complaint. It's only the telecom that have that facility whereby you call their call center for anything and you are not being charged. Initially, they were being charged, the NCC now came and said, no, you can't be charging people for calling you to make a complaint. I think that is where the regulators also, that's where the Consumer Protection Agency has also come to play. You need to protect the consumer. You need to let all this, every developed nation, you make a call to their call center, you don't have to pay, they bear the cost. But in Nigeria, you make a call to the call center, they are hanging you there for 1 hour, 2 hours, and you are the one paying, 30 minutes, 40 minutes. So when they know they are the one paying, then they will find a system to be able to answer you on time.
Absolutely.
So I think that has to do with the regulators. And then CBN need to do that. Dr. Mazi said, I think I agree with him totally. We don't have that platform. You have to go and send a mail. And sometimes, like you said, some of these mails, they are not response. They might not be, they've not created a robust system to be able to tackle some of these consumers' issues. I think that is one legacy I think the current CBN government should be able to live with us.
It is perhaps why we have the same challenges being repeated over time.
Yeah.
Because even though CBN says it's investigating, what does the CBN do, when the financial institution errs? Is there a reprisal? What form of punishment? What guarantees that what has happened now will not repeat itself? But I want us to talk about online fraud for a minute. You mentioned it earlier, the fact that the norm now is you get this call from your banker who's saying that your date of birth is incorrect, and then they ask you to update your data. And then they keep asking to the point where they mention, read the number on your ATM card, and before you know it, all of your monies are taken away. I
think people should know that it's fraud. The bank have said that no bank in Nigeria or any part in the world will call you to give your PIN number. No bank. And no bank will be asking you for your ATM number. They already have your ATM number in their system, so they don't need to call you to ask. And I want to tell people that once you look at those mails, sometimes go and look at the sender. But sometimes when they just use that, maybe a particular bank, you just feel that's the bank. But by the time you click on who sends the mail, you begin to see that it's not originating from those banks. And sometimes those logos that they are not the original logos of those banks. So, and again, it's out of greed. Also, sometimes some people just fall into those schemes because they come, they tell you what you don't have, and you want to grab what you don't have. You're thinking you are beating the bank, and all of a sudden you are beating yourself. But sometimes again, it's naivety on the part of somebody. He calls you, is telling you that, oh, your bait of debt and this and that, you have to feel it online. No. Nobody does that. It's the bank. It's the only people. The bank does not need your PIN number, does not need your ATM number. So they must be aware that these are fraudulent activities. And sometimes the banks in that area, I think the banks have been doing very well. They send mail, they send text message, say on no cost we will have called you to ask for your PIN number, we will have called you to ask for your ATM number, we will have called you to ask for that and that. I think the bank has done one, so it's not left for us to be able to say, look, this is fraudulent activities.
We're going to get back to all of these details, but let's quickly touch on the economic impact on the new COVID-19 restrictions by government. We're shutting down recreation centers, all the pubs, and this is perhaps their biggest moment. I mean, they have been waiting for the youth to make some money. What's the implication on the economy, you know, when we have to shut down institutions like this?
It's very huge. It's very huge, especially what you just mentioned, recreational centers, pubs, because those are the places that you have average Nigerians. If you are doing a recreational event, you have people that will come, you hire them as steward, you have people that will come and act there as ushers. These are people that are trying to make day-to-day living. So it's really not a good thing. But then it's he that has life that does businesses. And thank God the government is not saying they are going to shut some of these recreational centers. It's only the nightclub and the pubs I think they've shut completely. And those are understandable because some of them also, they've not even kept to the protocol of COVID-19 protocol, even after they were allowed to do business. For the recreational centers, I think they said you cannot have more than 50 people at a particular time. The government will have to know, they have to send their representative there to know that you are COVID-19 compliant. Even to the religious centers also, they have their team to send there to make sure that you are COVID-19 compliant, which is good. But for even the eateries, you are allowed now to go in there, not like before everything was shut, but now they said, initially they said, okay, you can go in there and eat, but now they are saying, no, you just go in there, buy and go out. So the government have been wise enough not to shut down the economy, because even in the UK that is having one of the highest cases, and the US, the economy is not in a total shutdown, because no country can afford a total shutdown of the economy at this moment, because the kind of destruction that the COVID-19 have done in the economy, it will take 5 to 6 years. And once you shut down again, it's going to increase. So nobody wants that.
Ours is peculiar. We're told that GDP has contracted consecutively for 2 quarters. But the federal government seemed to be optimistic that we're going to get back out of the recession in the next quarter. Do you share that optimism?
I share the optimism with them as long as the price of crude is going up. Look, we've been in 2 recessions. Did we do anything differently? No. We didn't do anything differently to get out of recession. We just, the first recession we had was when the price of crude went as low as $30 per barrel. Immediately the price of crude hit 40, 45, 50, we're out of recession. The same thing is happening, will happen now. Why are they having that optimism? Is because the price of crude from a low of 10 naira when the pandemic started has gone to a high of about $50 per barrel. And even their benchmark for the budget is about $40 per barrel. So they are seeing already read with that more funding will come there. That will increase our reserve. That will make us be able to, because oil is the largest end enough, that will boost our GDP. So we are not doing anything exceptional. We are not trying to build other sectors. We are not trying to develop other sectors. We are not looking for other sectors to come and grow our economy. What we just do is that we play lip service to even the diversification of our economy. We see diversification when our economy is down, when we are in recession. Immediately we are out of the wood. Nobody talks about diversification. We go back to business as usual. Oil will still bring back the money.
That's interesting. The percentage that oil takes in our... But this diversification, what makes it practically impossible? Because it is a recurrent topic. We keep talking about it year in, year out, especially at a time like this where we are in the low.
Nifemi, I like using an analogy of an individual. You are a salary earner, you earn salary. Your salary is your main source of income. For you to diversify to other sources of income, it has to come from your main source of income. Once your main source of income suffers, there will not be diversification to other sources of income. So the lip service we are playing to diversification, we are paying lip service because once our source of income which is supposed to be the leeway towards diversifying our economy, is suffering. It's not the time you begin. It's like a man that is not investing when he had money, and when he's not having money, he said, I want to start investing. How do you do that? You always think about what can you eat at that particular time. So diversification, all developed economies that have diversified, how did they diversify from their mainstream income into other streams of income? You look at United Arab Emirates, they diversify from their oil into tourism. You look at Norway also, they diversify from their oil into other vessel making and other things. So your main source of income is also act as a source of your diversification. So once your main source is being challenged, then you cannot diversify the way you want to diversify. So surely the best time to diversify your economy is that the best time for a man to move to create other streams of income is when he has a steady stream of income. He says, okay, I want to use it to create other streams of income in case I have a challenge in my steady stream of income. So the best time for us to diversify is when the economy is buoyant. It's not when the economy is no more buoyant. But you see, that's the reverse in Nigeria. Once you see them start singing the slogan of diversification, you are seeing that the price of oil is being impacted, there's no more oil, but you know that you need the money from oil to develop infrastructure that will help in diversification. So once those instructions are not there, how do you diversify?
Are you saying we have missed the opportunity for diversification?
I'm not saying we have missed our opportunity. Again, in terms of our diversification also, we have not been able to study where we want to diversify to. You can't be jack of all trade. You can't be jack of all trade. If I talk Ghana, you talk cocoa. If I talk Cote d'Ivoire, you talk cocoa. If I talk United Arab Emirates, you say tourism. There's a particular thing they should be known for. But in terms of Nigeria, you talk agriculture. We want to do today, we are doing cocoa. Today, we are exporting yam. Next tomorrow, where is our competitive advantage? Where do we have that advantage as a country? What is our type, our soil type? What does our soil type produce that no other nation can be able to beat us in that? That is it. You talk about Malaysia, you talk about oil palm. Then the first oil palm kernel was taken right here from Nigeria, planted in Malaysia. So you need to look at competitive advantage. You can't just become jack of all trade, master of none. So when you talk about Lagos State, let me give you Lagos State. Lagos State can become the epic center of fishery in Nigeria because the total land mass of Lagos is covered by water. So what are we doing that? Rather, you see in Lagos is still trying to say, oh, we want to develop rice farming. No, you can't. It can work. You have this sector of fishing. How are you going to help those fishing communities? How are you going to make them begin to produce so much fish that you'll be able to export or you'll be able to give to other parts of the country? That is the way to diversify. You look at your competitive advantage and you make sure you put all your resources towards your competitive advantage. But we are not doing that.
What is the implication of having the GDP contracting any further? Where do we go from recession?
We go to deflation. You mean we deflated already because recession is not suicidal. Let's be sincere. Recession sometimes gives you room to re-evaluate your economy, re-strategize, and then you reject your economy. It's not suicidal. Every economy in the world goes through recession. Every economy. China go through recession. China have been to recession. United States have been to UK. Have been South Africa. Have been all major economies in Europe, in Nigeria, in Asia. They have gone through recession. But what happened is that you don't make the mistake. Now, the current recession that we are seeing is a global issue. So you can excuse us for that because the price of crude came down. Even no matter where we have diversified to, it will be affected by the pandemic. So that we could understand. But the other recession that most of us suffer is because of lack of management, corruption. We're not managing our resources well. We're not diversifying. We're not saving well. So we had the problem. So what you do is that, like you say, prepare for the rainy days. You are working, you have buffer. You create those buffer. Are we creating buffer as a country? No. Because look at the current budget. The legislator said, the executive said $40 per barrel. And that means if it gets to $50, the other $10 is kept in the savings account for rainy days. In case we have any shock, we are able to go back there and use those money. But now, the legislators are passing the budget. They've increased it by 550 billion. And they are telling the executive, come back with a supplementary budget because the price of crude has gone up. How do you do that?
And all of these yardsticks really have to be reviewed. You look at 1.8 million barrel per day, and currently given the COVID-19,
we're struggling to do 1.5.
Thereabout. You look at how much they've pegged
the exchange rate is, they are pegging at 397. I mean, CBN, they're paying at 373, and CBN is telling you at 392.
And it's gone off the roof. So really, we might see that tweaked during the supplementary. But I'm concerned about what government can do for its people. don't mention palliative because that did not work, as we've said in the past months. But
no. There's no how you cannot mention about palliative. Every economy
I'm
in the
saying
world.
we might have to call it something else.
No, every economy in the world, every economy in the world survived their people by palliative. What do you do? What's happening in the US? They are calling stimulus. Stimulus is palliative. Yeah, just using another name. It's palliative.
Absolutely. I'm just saying we have to also look for another name to call it because the palliative
we'll
failed.
call it stimulus. Maybe the change of name does not change ourselves.
At some point, we were giving money to the poorest of the poor, but
we are still doing it. The minister still say they are still doing it. They are still sending money, cash. What they call it?
Should we be giving cash? How impactful economically has that?
Look, if we have systems, it works. How is US going to give cash? If you look at the US, the Congress approved about $600 per citizen.
Trump wanted it to be at 2,000.
Trump said he needed to be 2,000. And for the first time, the Democrat, Nancy Pelosi, is in the same page with Trump. He said, yes, I think it should be increased. Let's go back and work it to 2,000. So that our people, those are palliative. So there's nothing bad in cash transaction. A lot of economy all over the world have done cash transaction that have helped their people. But here our only challenge is that we have weak institutions, we have weak structures. So we are not able to monitor most of these cash transactions. So sometimes this cash transaction find themselves into people's personal account without getting to the people that needs it.
Absolutely. We have to go now. Thank you so much for your contribution. Mukhtar Mohammed, stockbroker, financial analyst. Merry Christmas to you.
Thank you, Nifemi. Merry Christmas to you too.
And we're hoping that 2021 will be better.
Definitely.
And nicer to the people.
Amen.
Congratulations, everyone. You made it to Christmas. We'll be back tomorrow, Boxing Day. I hope you have your box wrapped, irrespective of what they're going to be saying, and ensure that you extend a hand of fellowship, a hand of gift to someone in need at this season. I'm Nifemi Oguntoye. I see you again tomorrow. Merry Christmas, everyone.